Hi, my name is Porshe Taylor, and I am the founder and executive director of Prison from the Inside Out Inc. and also the Mary Mac Transitional Homes.
Okay, so talk about today. There's an action going on outside of Governor Newsom's home. Actually, I'm going to just start right there. Talk about what's going on and why that's important right now.
Absolutely. There are a bunch of advocates and family members who have taken the choice to take action outside of Governor Newsom's home um, to show support for all of the incarcerated people that are suffering. We've had 175 deaths occur with over 30 of those deaths just in the last 2 to 3 weeks. And little to no action is being taken on behalf of the governor, who has um, the power to release people, to put them in a safer environment.
And when we're talking about these statistics, these are specifically for California, correct?
These are specific to California state prisons.
Okay. So before we go further, I'd love for you to talk a little bit about the two organizations that you mentioned that you're connected with. Would you do that?
Absolutely. I founded Prison from the Inside Out Inc. in 2019. And what it is, it's a program that goes inside of California state prisons, and we provide rehabilitative training to the incarcerated community. So we basically provide self-help and introspective programs to the men and women who are interested in bettering themselves before they come home. Our programs do offer time off of their sentences, and our programs are different. They differ from other people's programs because they were actually written by persons that are incarcerated, or a specific person that is still currently incarcerated. And the Mary Mac transitional homes are actually new, just 2020. When I created From the Inside Out, my idea was to have an organization that actually helped people to transition inside with the rehabilitative programming, and then to also have them have stability once they got out. So an organization that stuck with them all the way from the inside out, hence the name. And so I purchased a home, and I turned it into transitional housing. And we actually just opened up this week. So we are accepting people from California Department of Corrections starting this week.
That's exciting and also a newsworthy point. So I'm glad that we included that. When somebody takes on a project like this, there's usually some source of inspiration or something that really drives them. And this is big, these undertakings. Do you want to share a little bit about what inspired you to take these projects on?
Absolutely. I am definitely impacted myself. My husband, for the last 10 years, was in and out of custody in California Department of Corrections. He actually was just released um, March of last year of 2020. So he literally, I think he did 2 weeks of the COVID-19 lockdown that the prisons are under, and he was blessed enough to make it home. In between, I want to say March and January of 2019, I kind of would have been considered like the regular title of prison wife, the wife of an incarcerated person. I took to like some healing journeys. I started practicing meditation, and I had a dream, and to really just be short about it. I feel like I was given a gift, and God, gave me the insight to open up the original org FTIO, and to kind of bridge the gap, to allow people that are incarcerated to tell their stories, to be able to let the people that are not impacted know that what's portrayed on TV, what we know generally about incarcerated people, is not true. It's not a cage filled with monsters. There are many people in there that are very aware that they made mistakes, that have changed. They were 18 when they went and are now 50, totally different people than they were when they, at the time that they committed a crime. And let's not forget about the people that are factually innocent and that are incarcerated. And so that became my goal. And it just kind of took off and grew from there.
I really appreciate you sharing your story. Thank you. I think we can always touch minds when we can also reach hearts. And so thank you for sharing that. And it also, one thing that's striking me is I often interview Pastor Kenneth Glasgow. He's the brother of Al Sharpton, and he talks about the second chance citizen movement and not second not second class, but second chance, right?
Mhm.
About how the odds are really stacked against people because there aren't these kind of fundamental stepping stones in place. And so people end up back in prison, as you kind of alluded to, what happened in your
Absolutely.
family. Would you like to talk about how that's played out in your case at all and how it might have
Um,
inspired your work?
Absolutely. He's absolutely right. When you are a formerly incarcerated person, there are so many things that are just stacked against you. You know, I feel like my husband, being a person that has been incarcerated multiple times, even with someone supportive and willing to take the steps to learn about all the traumas of incarceration and all the things that are a little bit more difficult after being incarcerated, such as gaining employment, um, even gaining a driver's license. For long termers, they're literally erased off the map. A lot of people don't realize that their social, all it's like it's gone. So even for someone like my husband who had a lot of support, it is still extremely difficult. He could not close the door on our norm. We live in a very large house. He couldn't close the door on our bathroom for almost a year because of the traumas of living in a cell. And so in hindsight, I definitely put a lot of that energy into our programs. When we go into prison, our facilitators, who are all volunteers, that is something that is instilled in them um, during the training process, is to go in as hope. We go in as light, as to bring a part of the free world into prison so that when they go back to their cells, they have a picture of the real world. They're not stuck in that cement block that they have to spend whatever time frame remaining. And I found it to be very healing for the people that participate, as well as also having the security of saying, okay, you know what, I'm taking these programs, and when I get out, I don't have to worry about having somewhere. I have a referral that I can go to this Mary Mac home. So that's one step off of my rehabilitation process. I don't have to worry about being a reason for me to recidivate.
Right. Or being unhoused or all the other challenges that people can face, right? That's really powerful. I mean, at some point
Absolutely.
in the future, oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh no, you're fine. It's just really hard for, especially for employment. I noticed that most of the time people that are, unless they have education, which they can get inside, or they've obtained a trade, it's really hard for incarcerated people to gain and hold steady work. Most of the work that they get is temporary. It's hard labor, which is hard on their bodies, which their bodies are not kept up well while they're incarcerated. So it's they look like they're in good physical form, but interior, it's not in good physical form because of the things that they're fed and the lack of health care. So
Thank you. Thank you so much for providing the context and kind of giving a little bit of a glimpse into your world and what led you into this direction. So let's pivot back to what's happening this weekend. You talked about the number of deaths related to COVID recently, and people are standing in front of Gavin Newsom's home today. I guess what's your takeaway from this? Because you all have been organizing and asking for some relief and saying, no death sentence by COVID-19 since March. And kind of give me the pulse of like what progress has been made. Where are you at? What do you hope will happen now?
so you know what, the great thing about the action that's taking place today is it aligns with other works that are in the mix. So just yesterday, myself and maybe 5 to 10 other organizations that formed a coalition called California Impacted Families Project, we held a statewide webinar that had legislative members in attendance, district attorneys, public defenders, and a ton of impacted family members, like I said, across the state. And what the ending result of that webinar we are requesting a new public safety committee hearing to be held. This is something that absolutely needs to happen. We're actually distributing an email template around our social media platforms and through our networks. And then us as a coalition drafted a letter of demands to the governor, to CDCR's Kathleen Allison, which is the secretary, and then also to the Public Safety Committee. And the committees that occurred on July of 2020 and November of 2020, the governor, as well as the legislative members and CDCR, made a ton of promises. They said they were going to do rollout releases. They said that they were going to ramp up releases by way of commutation. So far, they've only done 57, but yet we have 175 deaths. They said that they were going to take other health precautions to make sure cleaning supplies, things like that, were being given to the incarcerated individuals. We as organizations have been attempting to donate to the prisons. They have been refusing, and we know that they are lacking on supplies. So with that being said, we're calling them out on these things, and we did it. Though we're doing it the way with paperwork, the proper way, but the action has to come behind it. So that is where them being, out there in person today, rallying and showing them we know that we have to take the ways legally to get things done, which is the route of the paperwork, which is the route of the request, which is the route of showing that we are able to organize California's constituents to say that enough is enough. And we've done that. But we also know that we have our First Amendment right, and that we can show up and that we can protest and that you have to hear us, which is what they're doing today by showing up at his house.
Great. So you're doing the paperwork trail, you talked about the logistics, and then, I keep thinking back to just the overall slogan of like no death sentence by COVID. And as you and Courtney and I were talking about in a text message thread earlier, so we have people who are essentially getting a death sentence by COVID by being in such tight quarters, and you're not getting relief on these things that you were promised relief on in terms of letting more people out, etc. Simultaneously, we have the president who at the federal level is approving and executing people.
Ridiculous.
Say that again.
Ridiculous. Yeah.
Yeah. I wondered if you wanted to just kind of comment on that and like all the things that are going on in this moment.
I am not a fan of the death penalty in general. I don't feel like, we as people, and this is just my opinion, we as people should punish a person for killing a person by killing a person. And I know that a lot of people believe in an eye for an eye, but that is just not me. And that's where I'll go in regards to the death penalty and the president. And in regards to everything else that's going on with Donald Trump and our government right now, I feel like it's just an eye opener for the world. The last 4 years in general have been an eye opener for the world, and I think we should appreciate it. A lot of things that were under the cover are now out in the light. A lot of racism and things that were hidden are now open for the world to see, and it's better that way. It's better for people to know what kind of hatred they're surrounded with than to think that life is blissful and peaceful. And we should thank Donald Trump for that.
That's a piece of silver lining. And I'm with you. An eye for an eye essentially makes the world blind, right?
Right.
Are you hopeful about healing under the next presidential administration?
I definitely have high hopes just for the world in general. I mean, we have to be realistic. The people that supported a lot of the negative things that are going on right now, they're not going anywhere. This is our world, you know what I mean? And so we have to be the leaders by example, you know what I mean? We have to be the ones that go out and raise better children. We have to be the ones that go out and smile when we see people frown, because that in the end result is people from from the behaviors that they exhibit today that are negative.
Thank you. And before I let you go, just because you talked about your husband and some of the trauma that he endured while being incarcerated, how's he doing and kind of what's next for him on his path, if you'd like to share?
Absolutely. He's doing amazing. We're actually expecting a child now. Um,
Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, he's doing amazing. We have our own companies, as you know. We also have, I started a cleaning company. That's what I found to be better if, if a formerly incarcerated has that opportunity to be able to start their own organization or work with someone who is working with formerly incarcerated people and understand the traumas. It is so much more of a safe working environment for them. I watched him just go through so many letdowns of getting a job, tentative on background check, and then background check comes back, and the offer is revoked, and just the beat down that that can take on their self esteem. And so, starting our own businesses was the best move for us, and we're blessed enough that our businesses have been successful.
And any other final messages you'd like to leave our listeners with, either about what's going on this weekend or about the movement in general, about how to get involved, etc.?
Absolutely. I urge people that are listening, whether you are impacted or not, if you have any kind of strong feeling about what's going on, to get involved, find an organization that fits your liking, and just get involved. Whatever it is that you do, make your voice heard. Use your voice. Now is the time. When we are silent, is just as bad as being on the opposing side. People are passing away that are of no threat to society, that could be out here and be productive. And yeah, now's the time. So get involved if you can, and support.
Thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me today.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, and I was going to tell you, in the future, it would be really interesting if your husband ever wanted to maybe be interviewed along with you to talk about his experience, so we can also amplify his voice. So keep that in mind.
I will definitely ask him that.
Okay. In the meantime, keep up your great work and congratulations to you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Take care.
Bye bye.